Hi everybody, this is Dan Talk Sense, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of a comparison video between Mancera's Red Tobacco and Carlisle. So this is a bit of a response to my subscribers and followers on social media. Quite a few people recently have been asking me which one I prefer out the two and which one they should go out and buy. Now that is always a personal choice, but what I can do today is give you my experience of wearing both and the differences that I find between the two. I have been wearing these quite a lot recently over the last couple of weeks in a really cold climate in the UK. So what I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to do my intro. I'm then going to do a close-up of the presentation of Mancera Red Tobacco. I have my sample of Carlisle here. The juice is beautiful and dark and rich. And then I'm going to do a bit of a note breakdown and comparison, and then I'm going to crack on with my experience of both. So if that type of content would interest you, then please stay tuned. So guys, I'll just do a bit of a close-up on the presentation, and I wanted to do this because I wanted to show you my sample of Carlisle and how dark and resinous that is. Really beautiful. So you can see there's quality juice in there. That's my sample of Carlisle. Going back onto Red Tobacco, what I like is this little gold bag that they have. They have these little bags that they come with the presentation, with the bottle. I think it's a real nice classy touch. The Red Tobacco box itself is pretty simple. It's black. It's got the Mancera Paris Red Tobacco on there in gold, nice and simple. I really do like the bottle of Red Tobacco. I like that it's red glass. I like it's a screw top and there's gold on there. It's simple, but it just looks nice and really classy. So yeah, really like the presentation of Red Tobacco. But I just wanted to get a close-up on the juice, you see, because that's what really I like actually, because it just shows the quality of it. Really dark and almost resinous juice there, quite thick it looks. And then you've got my fire in the background. I thought that would make a nice thumbnail for the YouTube shot. So guys, I'm just doing a comparison of notes between the two, and this is from Base Notes. So with Red Tobacco, you have some vetiver, vanilla, musk, amber tobacco in the base, patchouli, jasmine in the heart. Then you have some saffron, cinnamon, incense, nutmeg, white peach, green apple and Nepalese oud in the top. With Carlisle, you have some guaiac wood, patchouli, cardamom in the base, violet and jasmine in the heart, with bergamot and mandarin there in the top. So guys, I just want to say I'm thankful and grateful for all of you that have been reaching out to me, asking me for my opinion on these two, because that fills me with more confidence as a reviewer. I've not been doing this a great deal of time, but I'm really passionate about fragrances. And I just really get a thrill out of fragrances coming to my door in deliveries and smelling them for the first time. Last year I really started to get into niche perfumery, and it really excited me because I've always bought designer fragrances, and after watching the big reviewers out there like your Joy Amins, Red Essence and different people around the world, I just really wanted to smell these fragrances, and these two here that I have with me today have been hyped and they're really highly acclaimed fragrances. Now a lot of people on Fragrantica and in the comments on YouTube will say that they find them to be really similar, and I would agree with those people. They are in the same ballpark in terms of fragrances, and there was a time where I thought personally there was no point in owning both fragrances, but over the last couple of weeks my mindset has changed with that. When I've been wearing them quite frequently in the cold climate, I do notice considerable differences between the two. So just to give you an example first of Red Tobacco, I enjoyed this so much that I went and bought a full bottle. And my advice to any of you, like I said in previous videos, is to join a page like Fragcom UK, or wherever you are in the world, there'll be these swap and sell pages. Now I said to one of the respected sellers on there, would it be possible if I could buy the last 30 mils of the bottle of Red Tobacco in its presentation, and I managed to get this for £33, and I was really grateful because I just think it looks better when you're doing reviews that you have the full bottle. I used to, when I first started my journey, just review samples, and I just think the subscribers, people watching, just prefer to see the full bottle on camera, and I do like collecting the bottles as well. So I did a previous video on both Carlisle and Red Tobacco individually, but it was in a hot climate in the UK. That was back in April, and we were talking 17, 18 degrees. So I've been wearing Red Tobacco and Carlisle now over the last couple of weeks. It's been about 1 or 2 degrees. So that's the first thing I'd say to you guys is for both these fragrances, the ideal climate is when it's absolutely bitterly cold. Now you might hear some hissing in the background, and that is my fire roaring away, and it just looks really, really cool. I love it. It makes me feel like really wintry. But this is the perfect climate to wear these two, to really enjoy them. And for both fragrances, they really are spectacular in the cold climate. So that's the first thing I'd get out of the way. And I do regret actually doing reviews of these two, especially on my channel as well, when it was really hot. But first of all, I think I'll start with Red Tobacco. Now, all the things that people say about Red Tobacco being absolutely rough when you first put it on is spot on. So when you put this on, the first thing that I smell is this really, it's quite pungent actually, oud. That's what I get when I first spray it on. And there's all these different notes, like kind of like attacking each other. Actually, I think I just had another delivery of a fragrance, which is really random halfway through a fragrance review. I do believe I've just had a delivery of some samples through the door, so that is what happens with live videos. I think I'll keep that in. But going back to this, yeah, when I first spray it on, it is really scratchy, medicinal, I'd say. With oud, I don't really like oud. I think that it's really harsh to the nose, and I know some people really enjoy it, but I don't really. But after about half an hour, 45 minutes, it dries down, that oud, and it becomes it's you can cope with it. That's probably the word, and it sort of blends into the fragrance, and the other notes start to come into it. So what I find with Red Tobacco is after about half an hour, 45 minutes, this really ashy tobacco comes into it. Now, I love the scent of tobacco, and I've only ever really owned like what they call entry-level tobacco fragrances, like Dolce & Gabbana The One EDP and CK Shock, because they're there in the base, but they're not the prominent notes. But over the last year, I smell Amorous Tobacco Reserve. I really want to get my hands on that fragrance because I think that smells really natural. This is the first fragrance that really got me enthusiastic about the tobacco note, because to me it's like being outside smoking a cigar. I don't smoke cigarettes myself, so I don't know what that feels like, but it just makes me think of being in a cold climate, smoking a cigar, because me and my friends do like smoking a cigar when it's really cold, and it's just a nice feeling with that smoke in your mouth. And this is the first real fragrance that made me feel like that, and it just made me feel this is really good and wintry. Now, when it gets to the dry down with this one, this is when the magic happens. So it gets a bit of creaminess to it, and it sort of smooths it out a bit, and the fruit comes into it. Now, the list has got a hell of a lot of notes listed, as I've shown you, from base notes. With this one, I tend to pick up a little bit of apple. And randomly, I've said this, I think I've said this before, but strawberry, if you smell a punnet of strawberries, it doesn't really have a smell, but if you smell strawberry as a spray, it's recognisable. A number of people have said that when I wear this, it smells like a strawberry daiquiri, that cocktail, and they smell fruitiness in it, and they smell an element of spice. And I think that if people around you may interpret or smell different things from this differently to how you smell it when it's on yourself. So for me, the most prominent thing was the smokiness, and this ashtray kind of tobacco, and lovely fruit, and a bit of muskiness that comes into it, and you get this spiciness that's in there. What I gotta say, with this, it's a real strange one, because sometimes I'll wear it and you just get prominent smokiness and you don't really enjoy it. You think, am I really enjoying wearing this fragrance? I want more than that. But there are times when the saffron really comes through, and I wore this and I was wearing it with a coat on, and the coat is hung up on my pegs. Every time I walk down the stairs and past my coat, I can smell this beautiful saffron, and that is when the magic happens in the dry down, and this becomes such a really interesting scent. Now, because this is a comparison video, I can't harp on too much about red tobacco and not Carlisle. What I would say with Carlisle, the benefit, the better, the more positives about Carlisle is that it dries down a lot quicker than red tobacco. So it does to me smell a little bit medicinal at the start and a bit synthetic. And I wasn't expecting that for such a high price tag. I thought it smelled natural from the off. But in saying the first 5 minutes to me, you can get the alcohol, and I was quite surprised considering the price of that. But then when it dries down fairly quickly, it becomes this really top quality, well blended, wintry, resinous smell. So you get a combination of tonka, vanilla, you get the apple that comes through, and you get spiciness at the top. Now, nutmeg is listed for Carlisle, but I get a lot of the cardamom as well, and I think this is where the red tobacco and Carlisle people get the comparison between the two, because you've got saffron in red tobacco, you've got nutmeg in Carlisle, so you've got spice notes in each one, you've got muskiness in each one. So I think on the dry down, that is when people get the comparisons. But for me, the big differences between the two is red tobacco is got this really rough tobacco ashy smell. With Carlisle, you've got this beautiful woodiness that comes in, and it gives it a creaminess as well. Without doubt, Carlisle is a better blended scent, and but with red tobacco, I find it to be more interesting because you've got the different stages of how it develops. With Carlisle, I think it's fairly consistent all the way through, and I wear it, I like it, and it feels prestige, but I just find it a tad boring at times. In terms of performance, they are both absolutely superb, and the scent bubble you'll get with both is well above average. But without doubt, red tobacco blows it out of the water in terms of performance. Red tobacco is, I mean, people the other side of the office will smell me. However, with Carlisle, it kind of makes you go nose blind. One of my colleagues, I couldn't smell it on me. I could smell it a little bit, but not too much. But my colleague Tony said, he goes, "What you're wearing today? That smells really, it smells of quality." He said it smells really. He said to me that it smelled fresh and fruity, which really surprised me, because closer to me it comes across as resinous and creamy. But this is where people probably from a distance pick up notes that you may not. So he felt it was more fruity. So for me, both absolutely quality fragrances. Now, when I get down to a conclusion for you, I would say that for me, the reason that I picked red tobacco is because I found it a lot more interesting because of different stages. It starts off with this rough oud, and it could put a lot of people off, but to me, that soon dries down. The rough tobacco that I really like actually came in, and then on the dry down, it becomes more spicy, and more fruit comes into it, like dried fruits. I just find it more interesting than Carlisle, and that's why I bought a full bottle. But over the last couple of weeks, wearing Carlisle, I just think it's a safer bet for the office. And if I was in a formal setting, an important meeting, without doubt, I'll be wearing Carlisle. I don't think I'll be wearing red tobacco unless I sprayed it on a couple of hours before, and then it dries down, and that's when the magic happens. So Carlisle, safer bet, better blended in my opinion, but red tobacco, a lot more interesting. If you like tobacco, without doubt, red tobacco is your choice. If you like a better blended, creamier, woodier type fragrance, and you like, people have said about having the apple pie accord, like Oyan and some of the other fragrances that Parfums de Marly have done. And I do get a little bit of apple in this, but for me there's more orange in this for me that I get in Carlisle. So both brilliant fragrances. I probably will end up getting a bottle of Carlisle in the future. It's not on my hit list of ones to get. I was kicking myself a little bit yesterday because on Fragcom UK somebody was selling a bottle of Carlisle for 110 quid, and it was only a few sprays missing, which was a fantastic price for it. But what I'd say as advice to you guys is, if you can, is buy. You can get partials, you can get decants. That's what I did at the start of my journey. Now I'm tending to go for bottles with 30 mils left in there, because this will last me a long time, because when we start coming out of the winter I start wearing my summer fragrances again, so you're quite a short time span of when you're using your winter fragrances. Then you go on to your more summery citrus ones. So 30 mils is far enough for me, and I've got the beautiful presentation. Let me know your thoughts on which one you prefer out of Red Tobacco and Carlisle, and for what reason. Which one do you think performs better on you? Which one do you think smells better? And I'd be interested to know what your feedback is. I hope that was helpful to my subscribers and people that have asked me on Instagram and Facebook. I've even had people that are not in Fragcom as such. You know, they've said, I've noticed there's a fragrance that I noticed people go on a lot about Carlisle, and is it worth the price, because it's a lot of money. You know, it's just people that they're not really into Fragcom as such, but they've noticed Carlisle, heard about it. But I would be interested to know your thoughts, and let me know if there's any other fragrances or comparisons you'd like me to do. And if I've got them in my collection, I'm really happy to give you my thoughts on both. I do plan to do my next video. I'm looking to do what to look out for in terms of buying a vintage Lamal, because a few people that now have asked me, when am I dropping that video? I have done. I can't wait to do that video, because one of my favourite fragrances of all time. And one fragrance video that is going to be coming up soon is, I've bought a newer batch of Spice Bomb Extreme. It's on its way. I'm going to do a comparison between the 2000, I think it was 2017. I've got a batch of the Spice Bomb Extreme, and I'm going to compare it to a new batch, because a number of people are asking me, has it been reformulated, Spice Bomb Extreme? I really hope it hasn't, but I'll let you know in an upcoming video, because I'm getting a newer batch of Spice Bomb Extreme. I hope that was helpful to you all out there. If you haven't subscribed already, if you could, that'd be great. Give me a thumbs up if you could, a thumbs down, I don't mind. It's all interaction, and your comments mean a lot, because it's good to have this interaction through COVID and lockdown. I live on my own, so interacting with Fragcom has been a massive boost for me, and I've really enjoyed communicating with you all. So hopefully that was useful. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll speak to you all very soon.